afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to our Open Up Live talk show. My name is Dipesh, and I'm the social media coordinator at Voice of Men 360. Voice of Men 360 is a nonprofit organization founded in 2020 and is based in Toronto, Canada. Voice of Men 360 was born out of seeing a need for stepping up to provide services, help, and support, and overcome challenges in many of our men and boys' life in our community. We are part of the International Men's Day, and International Men's Day has been serving for over 25 years in 90 countries around the world. International Men's Day follows six pillars, which is the overall well being of boys and men, and we follow in the same footsteps. Now, would you say why open up? Because men do not open their hearts and are willing to share their matters with anyone. We keep our emotional challenges within ourselves for a long time, and at some point, they will explode and it'll affect our health conditions in many ways. This is why we create a space to open up and allow an individual to share their life journey throughout our platform. We aim to create awareness about life challenges, struggles, overcome ups and downs that our boys and men face in their lives. There are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic group in sharing their life journey. All walks of life can participate. Our goal is to make a positive impact on someone's life through this show, and Open Up Show is on Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we bring an individual to each show to let them share their life experiences with you. Before I introduce our special guest for today, I would like to go through our disclaimer. We would like to remind you that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith towards peaceful harmony. The views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not represent Voice of Men 360. Our organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness of the issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We are not providing medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. If you have any questions or concerns about today's episode or any Voice of Men 360 content, please email us at info@voiceofmen360.org. Today's speaker is Halima Mohiuddin, founder of leadership think tanks, capacity building coach, process architect, and a lifelong learner. She's also working on her doctoral dissertation in academic leadership. She's also a financial strategist and a business advisor, and she has had the chance of working with men and observed them under various stress level in all capacities, and she has worked with various leaders in the industry. Welcome to the show, Halima. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. It's an honor to join this platform and share anything that I've gathered from my experiences and hoping that it'll help someone.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for joining and willing to share your life journey. And just to get started, what would you say that, there have been some of, like, you could be your childhood incidents or your influences in your life that inspired you to do what you're doing today, profession
Um,
wise?
I think the biggest role model that I've had in my life is my father, and he has played an integral role. And I remember growing up that he would sit us down and always explain the pros and cons of everything. And when we were younger, we would think, oh, here comes the lecture. But what that lecture did for us, it now in hindsight, when I look at that, that every incident that we faced, every special occasion that happened, he helped us understand the value that we create and how we touch the lives of the people around us. I think one incident that I can clearly remember, and it never leaves me, is that we had a house help and they were they had a marriage in their village. So my father had committed that he would come and visit them. And I remember that during that wedding, my father received a call from a very, very big industrialist who was also his boss, and he invited all the elite management over. And my father declined that invitation because he had prior commitment to somebody who was a house help, and we were at in a village. So what that taught me was amazing, that you have to honor your word. You have integrity and commitment come first. You cannot make changes or shape shift based on material benefit. You have to be human, and you have to value human emotions first, and everything falls in place after. So I think that was a very life impacting experience that I felt, and I learned several things from that moment, that anybody would die to be a guest of that industrialist, and my father said, no, I am busy at a prior commitment. So that was big for me.
Well, that's awesome. That just shows integrity and character, and just shows that it's such a good lesson to, value that, and that's amazing. And I think for pretty much everyone, like father is like the first male role model that they kind of see, right? And
Exactly,
in the
exactly.
society we live in today, we're seeing that being eroded more and more.
Hmm.
So no, that's an amazing example. Um, and what would you say that like some of the challenges that you faced, it could be during your early life or later on, particularly, when it involves like male role models or just men in general, or your observations, I guess, that you've seen.
I think challenges or observations, I would say, because I think culture plays a significant role in how our psyches are shaped. And I grew up in Pakistan, and then I migrated to the United States when I was 23. So growing up back home, I think we had two kinds of people. One who would think that because I'm a female, I'm incapable because of the mindset that they had been given. And the other is that uh, men in my family, they felt, and I have recognized that now, they felt that they had this obligation to go out of the way and make things way easier for me, and even do the things that I could have managed myself. That we were pampered. It was a very pampered lifestyle. And now when I look at it, I feel that they were in our culturally, and sometimes I see it here as well, that we are under so much pressure and burden as I mean, if I'm stepping into the shoes of a man, there is so much expected of them that it's unrealistic. And sometimes they stretch themselves thin to an unbearable extent. And I think that that needs to be softened, that needs to be um, addressed, because we cannot have unrealistic expectations from one gender and then not even expect them to be human. Because one thing I observed in my culture growing up, and I think this is all across the board, is that whenever you're talking to a young boy or a young teenager, you're just telling them, be a man. Don't be a don't cry like girls, don't express like girls, don't, as if you are telling them to shut down their emotions, and you're dehumanizing them, telling them not to respond or recognize the natural indicators of stress or overwhelm that they have in themselves. So I think that is a challenge that I faced, and I think it impacts the society at large, because not only their female counterparts are impacted, their families, their professional colleagues, everybody around them. Any human who is expected to act unnatural and not express or channelize their stress would somehow suffer in one way or another. And sometimes they internalize and it hurts them on the inside, and sometimes it comes out on the other people around them.
Yeah, so true. And yeah, you're totally right. I think culture plays a big role on how men are socialized. And yeah, like expressing emotions and feelings is a human thing, right? It's not a man or a woman thing, but we're just socialized in such a way that, oh, you're a man, be a man, and
Yeah,
you're not supposed to, right? And then we see in our culture, especially I noticed with the older generation, like the way they cope is by like working too much,
yeah.
and being disconnected. So yeah, you're right. It plays such a big role.
That's true. I mean, even to the extent that I saw that if a female would go to pay the bills at a bank or something and there's a long line, some guy who's been standing there for 3 hours in the sun, waiting for his turn, when the female comes in, they will give them, let them go ahead. That is a little different here in the United States of America, that, you first come, first serve. There's genders don't get any special treatment, but in our culture, they do. So there's a good and bad side to it. There's pros and cons. But I think that also puts a lot of more pressure on men. Like if I'm bringing something and my family sees it, they're going to tell one of my brothers or somebody, oh, look, your sister's, grab it from her. It's heavy. She shouldn't lift it up. So it is detrimental not only for the man to think that it's his responsibility to pitch in where the female can handle him herself as well, and then also that takes away from her ability to have confidence in herself or know that this is something she can handle equally good. And yeah, that just adds a lot of unnecessary pressure. I think realistic expectations is very important, allowing them to express themselves and recognize the indicators that they have. If they should be allowed to cry. I mean, I don't know why it is that even here across the globe, if you see men, most of the families or fathers, they tell their boys, boys don't cry. Boys don't cry. If you're crying or if you get hurt or you're expressing emotion, it's completely dismissed or shut down. That is unhealthy. That is unhealthy and toxic for them to hold in. And I've come across, men in different levels in the professional side as well. And because of the fact that I created programs for them, training and capacity building, and sometimes management growth programs, I had to see that the soft side, the vulnerable side, and all the load and the burdens that they carry, even though they are accomplished, even though they're CEOs, even though they're CFOs. But on the inside, if you look at them, they are handling a great load that is unimaginable for a human to be put under. It's unrealistic expectations, and they somehow, hats off to all the men who do all of these things so seamlessly and not let us see the stress levels that they go through.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think this kind of like, socialization that we grow up in, it affects both men and women, right? Because for men, they're told that, okay, you're supposed to have all this responsibility. And for
Yeah,
women, they're told that, it's almost like a learned helplessness, right? It's like you have to depend on a man. You
yeah,
can't be independent, right? So I think, yeah,
yeah.
definitely needs to change. And I think you being on the show and, Voice of Men 360, I think having these conversations would definitely lead to a better change. Um, you know, and
I,
I think we kind of, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we kind of already touched on that a little bit, but why do you think, as a woman, it's important to talk about men's mental health?
Oh, I think it's integral. It is so critically important because a man is born in a woman's lap, right? You're the first observer or the first person who actually gets to notice you and how you behave and how you interact and how you respond to the external stimulants is your mom. In most cases, and now their dads too. But whoever the main parent who is taking care of or births a child is a woman. So their feedback is extremely important because they are looking at a boy grow up from a different lens, and they observe many things that the child might not even recognize about themselves. I mean, if you talk to any mom, regardless of which geographical location they're at, they would know their child. They would know what ticks them off. They would know what makes them happy. They would know what calms them down. So all of these factors are very important. And then when the man grows and grows up to be a successful leader, or grows up to be anything that he wants to become, he has to interact with many women. And then a woman uh, helps him as a sister, as a friend, as a wife, as a a family member, as a colleague. So they have an important role because I personally believe that men and women together are the foundation of a society. They build a society together hand in hand. And if one is off balance, then the other is affected inevitably. A man has been historically, majority cases I'm discussing, has been the head of the family, the head of a clan, the head of a organization. Mostly now you rarely see that there's a gradual change in the number of CFOs or CEOs that are now women, but historically majority have been men. And if their sanity is questioned, or if their sanity is not maintained, or they're put under unrealistic pressures, and they don't have any outlet, then it is going to inevitably reflect in how they behave, how they design the culture. And the leader is the one who sets the tone for the culture of your home or your organization or your country. So all of these things are interlinked. And it is so very important for women to give feedback, and also for women to give them the space to open up, and also for women to understand where they're coming from. Because when there is a disconnect, when there's lack of understanding, and I say A and you hear B, that causes a lot of discord. That causes a lot of toxins in the environment, in the society, and in the outcomes that you're looking for, regardless of whichever setup you're in. So, women's feedback is critical. It is very, very critical because they can not only provide a safe space, but then also feedback and help um, men in becoming the best of what they're destined to be. And likewise, vice versa, men play the same role. But I think so far, majority percentage, if we look at the majority of the pressure is on the man in an unrealistic way. And I'm not trying to um, say that women don't do enough. Women have their own kind of pressures too. They're equally important. They equally need um, they're equally worthy of attention. Those issues need to be resolved. And it's something that has to go hand in hand. We cannot fix one first and the other simultaneously. They have to work together to come up with solutions, to come up with systems, to come up with some kind of an arrangement or understanding. And I think your initiative is excellent. It is phenomenal, especially now with the post-COVID dynamics. I think the pressures have gone up. Everybody is hurting, uh, some knowingly, some unknowingly, some financially, some emotionally, and some psychologically. If we look at the numbers of the students who have been requesting mental health counseling, it has gone up tremendously. Children, teenagers are questioning things, and they're under so much burden that this is very, very critical and very important for us to manage our balance. Because if you cannot balance a human being, then you cannot expect the optimized productivity from them. You cannot expect them to uh, evolve into their optimal capacity. So it's all very important.
Yeah, no, so very true. And, I think it's all about having a balance, right? And then when you say like when the family system is under a lot of stress because, like, either the man or woman, right? It definitely has an effect on the kids also, right? And then so if they don't deal with it, then that trauma kind of gets passed on through the generations, right? So it's almost like,
Absolutely, absolutely. You nailed it right. That is so critical because what they say, your kids don't follow what you tell them. They follow what they see. They do what they see. They're sponges. They absorb everything from their environment. So you can tell them a million things that I want you to be like this. I want you to be like that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they will observe how you behave and how you act, and most likely, based on what science says, that they will ultimately act the way you acted. And if a father is overstressed and he's killing himself to make ends meet, and when he comes home, then he's expected to do all the, go the grocery and all of that. And then there are some families in which the expectations on a man is unbelievably imbalanced. So it's very important that we try to create balance. See, anything in the universe, if you disturb the equilibrium, even if it's a tiny dot that's pulled out of that balance, then it can cause a tsunami. And it's very hard for one human to function in a healthy way, an optimal way, and keep themselves sane and the environment safe unless they are completely in equilibrium with their own being, their mind, body, and soul. And that can't be if you are holding one side of your emotions are being trapped inside, they're bottled up inside, and it's like a bottleneck. You cannot expect men not to be themselves. They should be allowed. I keep saying allowed, but I think it's the pressures that the society puts on them. If a CEO, if a father, if a grandfather who has a lead role in their family, in their organization, in their institution, is having mental health issues, it is going to impact and trickle down to everybody around them and children. And it means that you are now setting the foundation for the future leaders, and now you're impacting them. If you haven't acted a certain way, and if you haven't given your children or your future generations the leeway or the understanding or the capacity to recognize their emotions and process them in a healthy way, then you are depriving them. You're doing a disservice to them, to yourself, and to the society around them. So it's very important that we recognize that men, even though we expect them to be like superheroes, that's the kind of expectations we have from most men. That they'll come up with their cape and on a horse and save you and stuff like that, and it sounds good and it looks good when you watch it in movies, but at the end of the day we have to recognize that they're human and they need to be given the respect. Their emotions are just as important than any females, and they do have the same chemical reaction in their body that any female has. And crying or expressing emotions or being sensitive is a very human emotion that is not limited to any gender.
Yeah, no, very well said. And I think we definitely should be thinking these things in terms of human rather than like male or female, you know?
Yeah,
Because, yeah, there's certain things men are geared towards to do and women geared towards to do kind of thing, right? But in the end, everyone's human and everyone feels it the same way, right?
yeah,
And then coming towards our the last question or the last not the least, there's so many, I can go on for hours and hours, right?
yeah.
So this question is basically kind of, what are some of the simple steps that, we as an individual, as a family or friend, or just society in general can take to help men and boys?
That's a very good question, and I think it's relative depending on what your setting is, the setting you're in. But I think generally, if we were to look at men's mental health, one of the most important thing is communication. One of the most important thing to be respected in is recognizing their emotion, and it's a two-way stream. It's not just one way that they the if you have men in your family, and if any men are listening, they need to recognize their emotions and how they feel, and then they need to be able to communicate with the trusted individuals in their families or their friends. And then if they feel that it is something that is just because of a certain stressful situation, they can handle it. But if they feel that it's a repetitive, there's a pattern to it, then they should seek some kind of counseling or guidance. And somehow it's such a taboo thing. That is also something that we have to change in the perceptions of getting help or counseling when it comes to your mental health or mental wellness is not looked at as a very positive thing. People immediately think, oh, there's something wrong with. That's not true. When we go for counseling or someone who's an expert at the field of maintaining mental health, they have, through their research and through their academic, whatever credentials they have access to the best strategies. They have access to the best resources that you can leverage to manage yourself in a healthy way. And they can teach you little techniques, little changes in your day that you can make and make sure that your stress levels are not plummeting to, they're not out of whack. So, communication, and then recognition of your emotion, acceptance, and also making time for yourself. Put your oxygen mask first. There's a book, Put Your Oxygen Mask First, as well. But really, truly, you cannot help anyone if you don't have your oxygen mask first. You will not be able to. And I think that many men do that. They put everybody on top priority, and women do that as well. So I think this is a uh, it's a wise way to shift your mindset to put your oxygen mask first. Make sure that you're healthy. Make sure you have some me time, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes a day. Just take those, even if you're staring in space and doing nothing, but you're giving your mind and body some rest to reboot, to realign itself. So communicate, recognize your emotions, and seek help if need be. And then number one is put your oxygen mask first. And that would involve all of these things, because when you put yourself first and when you make sure that you are in your perfect shape of being to help your loved ones and your friends and people who are depending on you, then you will be able to perform and deliver way better than you will if you do not recognize that you yourself need a break and need to be in balance.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Halima, and thank you so much for sharing your life journey with us. And you're totally right. It's only when can someone look after themselves, can they support others, right?
That is true. One thing I'd like to add, and I'd like to share that experience, is that I once was designing a capacity building program for an organization, and I was talking to the CEO, and this person was an accomplished person. They even had their private jet. And one of the biggest things that they could never escape was that one they would come home, they mother wasn't there to receive them. And when they would go to school, they did not have the kind of lunch that other kids had. Other kids' moms had cooked the lunch for them. And this person, who is accomplished and a millionaire, he could never escape that. That stayed with him, that hurt. Or that, so communication is so important for parents, especially moms, that if you are working women, and which I am too, make sure that you find ways to communicate and express your love and concern, and make yourself available even if you're not physically there. Let your children know that you will be there for them no matter what, and that they can depend on you. And if there's something that they're going to be handling differently than their counterparts, than their friends, and the environment they're in, make sure it's communicated to them in a healthy way, and check on them, because mostly girls are very expressive, boys are not. They'll hold it in, and then these voids and vacuums, they stay with them. So I was shocked when I was like, how would a person who has his private jet, makes millions, is the owner of a big organization, still sad, deeply goes into a depression, phase, just because he's thinking of his childhood, and he feels that there was a void. He did not receive the love that he felt that all the children around him received. So these are things that impact us tremendously. So I don't know how that translated into his actions, and how that translated into his personal life, and how he treated his kids. But this was a void that remained in him. So that impacted his mental health. He was a chain smoker, is a chain smoker. So people have to cope with these things through unrealistic, unhealthy means if they're not recognizing them on time, if their loved ones, the family, especially parents, because you're bringing a child into this world, And then you have to make sure that you give them a healthy foundation. It's not about money, it's not about resources. I think it's about mindset. You have to create a healthy mindset and then release that mindset in the society so they can be a blessing to themselves and also the people around them. Any life they touch in any which way, it should come across as a positive experience. And you can only create a positive experience when what you're putting together knows how to process toxins in a healthy way. Processing your stress, processing toxins in a healthy way, understanding yourself and the environment and how you respond to the triggers in the environment is very, very important. So, knowledge, awareness, and then the humility to take action on it is very important.
Thank you so much, Halima, for being on the show. I'm looking forward to having you again sometime soon.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute honor to be invited. Thank you.
Thank you. Uh, Hello, everyone. I have a few announcements to share. The first announcement is that there's a Lunch and Learn event happening on Residential Schools System 101. There will be a documentary screening. There will be speakers and presenters. There will be performances and dances. There's going to be story time and craft activities by Jay and Gizmo. The date for this event is Saturday, November 5th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern, and this will happen at the Wolf Performance Hall in London Public Library. The address is 251 Dundas Street in London, Ontario. It is a free event. Please contact us at 437-889-8329 or info at voiceofman360.org. The second announcement here is that we have a third observance, global observance. It's a week-long celebration of International Men's Day, and this will happen from Sunday, November 13th to Saturday, November 19th. And every day we'll be having 2 hours of virtual event. It'll be through Zoom. Please register to join, and we are looking for speakers from all walks of life. We also want to recognize men who have been contributing to their families, communities, organizations, and to society. We would like our listeners to nominate them and let us know. Please contact at 437-889-8329 or contact us at info at voiceofmen360.org. You can also find more details on this event on our Facebook group under Voice of Men 360. Um, Other than that, we have some few live shows on a regular basis. We have Open Up Show, which is sharing of your personal life journey. It's a live talk show on Sunday at 10 a.m. EST. We have Billy, which is a Tamil live talk show on Sundays at 8 p.m. EST. We have a monthly webinar, which is on first Saturday of every month at 10 a.m. EST. We bring in expertise and organizations and discuss a particular topic each time. We have a monthly show called The Unspoken Tears, which is second Saturday of every month from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. EST. The focus is domestic violence against men, bullying, male sexual abuse, traumas, porn addictions, and human trafficking. We have Author Circle, which is we want to bring individuals who have been contributing to the well being of men and boys through writings, articles, media, and recognize them and appreciate them. This happens on third Saturday of every month from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. EST. We also have a podcast. All of our shows are available on 6 platforms, including iPhone, Google Play, and so on. We have a monthly men's group meeting. It's only for men by men. It's every 2 weeks on Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. through Zoom. The next one will be on Tuesday, October 4th. There's no recordings. Please join through Zoom, and the link is available on our Facebook page and group. And last but not the least, we have Pass the Talking Stick, which is an indigenous peer to peer support group. There are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. All walks of life can participate in any of our shows. If you want to be a guest on any of our shows or willing to be a part of our organization and help us directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We would like to work with individuals, professionals, expert communities, organizations, associations, corporations, government officials, and businesses. Phone number is 437-889-8329. Our email is info@voiceofmen360.org. Our website is voiceofmen360.org. And you can find us on all social media, including Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to reach out to more people and help this community in general, please continue to show your support. Thank you so much for being on our show today. Have a good day.